maybe the ways that you positively care about things are usually connected to the things that you value, or the way you negatively care about things are also connected to the things that you value that you don't know how to get yet, or feel stuck in, potentially.
And I've been on both ends of that. I've been the most insignificant ever, and then I've been the guy. And I'm telling you, it's not what you think. And it's fascinating because you feel unlovable. You feel avoided. You feel hated. You feel unlikable. When in reality, it has nothing to do with you.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode number 1737, Low Self-Belief Creates Less Self-Belief, Fishing in Fitness. Today, for episode number 1738, the 4 types of care. I would say this is one of those episodes that the ultimate goal is to leave with more awareness than you came with. And I think every episode is that, but I don't know how tactical this episode will be. So I just want to preface with that. You and I were having a conversation, and we were talking about being villainized and people not understanding certain parts of us. And I said, well, isn't it interesting how people just care differently? Some people, when they care about the difference in your belief and theirs, they villainize you. Some people don't care at all if you're successful or you're not successful or whatever it is. Other people care a ton when you're doing something noteworthy. They feel inspired by what you're doing. And then some people, when they care, they actually just run away. And I didn't say all those things. We came up with those together. I'm responsible for every piece of value in this episode. But we were saying how interesting it is how people react differently, and they might not want you to think they care about something, but the way the energy they give you actually kind of reveals the flavor of their caring. And we thought it would be a cool episode to talk about. Again, do I know what we'll leave with? Not necessarily, but I think it's a good awareness episode.
I want to share the origin story of where this came from for me that I think would provide awesome context. When I was a freshman in college, I was not a fulfilled human being. It was an unhappy time for me. I had this really long sort of emo hair going. I wasn't in shape. I was definitely drinking and partying a lot. I went from super quote-unquote smart, everything comes easy to me, to like one of the top technical colleges in the world with engineering, where it was very eye-opening how much my not having to study much to get straight A's was going to be a huge issue. I remember taking electromagnetism physics and being like, I am in trouble. I was the physics award in high school. I'm not getting any awards on this one. And granted, now I understand that a lot of those kids not only came from really, really, really much better schools than I did, but also they are kind of the stay inside, don't party, study all night before the exam, and honestly weeks in advance. I just didn't have good habits back then, honestly. It was I got by on natural talent up to that stage of my life. And that wasn't going to fly anymore, so I found the smartest people I could find, and I befriended them, and we had a blasty blast, and I taught them how to party, and they taught me how to not fail out of college. I'm obviously being playful, but truth be told, they were a lot of the reason we crewed up, and we did a really good job together. Did all our projects together, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so very dark time in my life, but also partying a ton. So tons of fun, but not a lot of fulfillment. I go home to a party, and this is a young man that I grew up with, and he has a huge house, and he threw a rager. And it was awesome, and everybody was invited. Sorry, Kev.
Yeah,
almost everybody was invited. All my hometown friends, all that stuff. And there was a young man named Matt, not the Matt that the listeners might know, which is Kevin and I's friend Matt, Kevin's best friend Matt. And this is a different Matt. I'll just use first names. But this Matt is from Mendon, which is a town very north of where we grew up, Kevin and I. Mm-hmm. And Matt was the man. I mean, he was tall, he was good looking, he was jacked, he was charismatic, he was fun, he was just awesome. And I was not super awesome. And I was skinny and insignificant, and I was great at video games, and I was really smart, quote unquote, but I didn't feel valued at all in comparison to this man. And I felt very small in comparison. So I paled in comparison, or he paled in comparison. I don't know what that saying is. But the point is that I'll never forget it. I was feeling insignificant and insecure. And that's not normal for me. So this is one of the times in my life where I was doubting my worth and all that kind of stuff. And he came in with his buddies, and I'll never forget it. He's like, "Are you guys ready to schmingle?" And I was like, "What, man?" And he's like, "Schmingle, like sexy mingling. Are you guys ready to sexy mingle with the ladies, you know?" And he was being playful. He wasn't being toxic. Genuinely, it was really good. And I just remember being like, "Oh my God, no, I'm not ready to schmingle. You have to be sexy to schmingle. I'm not sexy at all, man." So I remember I walked away, and I went into a corner in the basement by myself, where we used to play video games, in this like corner of this basement. And I was just sitting there, just reevaluating my existence. Like, oh my God, you have let it go, Alan. You need to change your life. You need to fix yourself. You need to work on yourself. You need to change. And one of my buddies that I grew up with came and found me. He said, "Are you okay?" And I don't know what I told him. I probably said, "No, I'm struggling." And I don't think we got into it, because back then vulnerability wasn't exactly my go-to of, no, I just feel insignificant and vulnerable. I don't even know if I knew what all that meant. All I knew is I need to work on myself. I need to go on a self-improvement spree. And this is before I knew what self-improvement kind of was. I think before 26, I was into improvement, not as much self-improvement, but I did know that I needed to go on an improvement spree. But I didn't really label it as self-improvement. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go on a holistic self-improvement spree. Like back then, that wasn't my verbiage, right? Mm-hmm. But I need to quit drinking. I need to start lifting weights. I need to start getting my health in order. I need to start studying. And I need to relax with this partying all the freaking time thing. I need to stop taking so many shots, all this stuff. And so I remember after that, I started lifting weights. I started getting in the gym. And I remember my sophomore year of college, I was really starting to get in shape. I played basketball all the time. I loved it. And basketball is just a lot of running around. Basketball players are just in great cardiovascular shape. They always are, because it's so much running. And you're handling the ball, so you're using your legs to run and jump, and your hands are constantly moving. So it's just, you want to burn a lot of calories, go play basketball all day. But anyways, so I played basketball almost every day. I lifted weights almost every day. And I was just, my whole friend group used to poke fun at me, actually. And they used to say, whenever we'd get a free t-shirt in college or whatever, I'd always cut the sleeves off it. And in an engineering school, that's not normal. You don't do that, right? So I was the bro, quote unquote. But anyways, 10 years later, I run into Matt again. And at this point, not only have I graduated college and my master's and went into corporate and success, car accident, flipped my life around, all in fitness model, fitness competitor, fitness coach. My whole world is fitness at this point. I'm in my late 20s and I run into Matt. And I'm at a wedding, and he's smoking a cigar out front with all the boys, sort of wedding party type of thing. And he's like, "Dude, how you been? What's happening?" And I was like, "Matt, what's up?" And now I'm looking like he did, right? I'm much bigger now, bigger than I am now, for sure. And I'm just in shape. I'm healthy. I have high energy. I'm not drinking anymore. At this point, I think I went 2 or 3 years not drinking. And he's like, "Dude, those shows you're doing, holy shit, man. Like, that's awesome." He's like, "I could never do that." And I was like, what the hell is happening here? You're the guy. And by the way, he was still in great shape. So it was like, yeah, you could. I mean, you could probably right now, honestly. Now, again, are you going to, win without training? No, but it's not like you let yourself go, sir. You're still the man. And so that was an interesting moment where the hero became the guide. And I had that moment of, you don't believe in yourself as much as I do. Which is wild because you're the guy. I remember he had the most beautiful girlfriend. He had a Cape house down the Cape. He threw the best parties. He was the most charismatic. He was the most good looking. All my friends that were girls were talking about how they could be with him and all that. He doesn't know that, of course, right? But I do. And he's just the man. And still is. A big fan. Always have been. But to the point of this episode, that was a moment where I avoided the feedback. It was a big mirror for me, and I went in the corner and I thought about it, and I turned that pain into positive change. And I think that now I sort of understand that that's what being a role model is. Being a role model is being someone who makes other people uncomfortable, not because of them being unkind or toxic, but because of being so great. And so Matt was so great that I was uncomfortable around him, and I hope he didn't internalize me, not wanting to be around him, which I'm sure on some level maybe he did, right? But I think that I now realize, because a lot of my clients are winning now, and a lot of them are gorgeous and wonderful people, and they're just getting socially ostracized in many circles. And I said, honestly, can you inspire someone without envy? I was envious of Matt. I used to look at his Facebook and be like, oh my God, what would that be like? And so can you inspire someone without any envy? No. And so you have to make that okay. Now, to the point of this episode, we're going to break it down into a framework now, but I think that that's a good, and he changed my life through his own example. I got in shape after that. I remember being like, dude, you got to get it together. I had that conversation with myself. Because none of my other friends were in great shape. He was like a big fish from a different pond who came in and it was like, oh my God. Yeah. Like none of us are like that. And so he inspired the hell out of me. And so you either take the mirror and the envy and you work on yourself to improve yourself, or you villainize, and we're going to get into the different types. So my reaction, I guess, is less common than I thought. That's what I've always tried to do. And I always believed in myself and success, but when it came to fitness and girls and that kind of stuff, I mean, that was always much harder for me.
Well, it's easy for people to say, I don't care. Well, I just don't care. I don't care about that. I don't care about this. I don't care about that. It doesn't mean that it's not important to you. And I think that's ultimately, somebody could say, well, oh, good for him. He's got this, and he's got the beautiful girlfriend, he's got the Cape house, he's in really good shape. Like, I don't care. I don't care about any of that. All that is ego protecting you, potentially, from admitting that I value all the things that this person has, and I'm not sure, not you, but the collective you, I'm not sure if I'm capable of getting those things. I think the belief, going back to the previous episode, I feel like that's a huge piece of it. Because if I ever villainized anybody in the past, I don't think I ever really did it to them. It was more behind the scenes. I don't think I've ever consciously tried to tear someone down. But it was usually in things I didn't believe I could accomplish. It was never fitness. Ever. I got a very interesting perspective recently because I shared something. We were talking about someone. We were talking about an actor. We were talking about a movie. It's a movie called Anyone But You, I think. And it has two unbelievably good-looking people as the main characters. Sydney Sweeney, who is a beautiful, blonde young woman, and Glenn Powell, who is like all over the place and everything now, and just is a stud, and it's jacked in that movie. Like,
he's very hyper-conscious. I've seen an interview with him talking about self-worth.
He seems it.
And he's single, and people were like, why are you single? Why wouldn't you? And he said, I don't know if I can handle this, and I don't know if I want to bring anyone else into this right now, because it was very I was like, good for you. He
He's a
seemed
stud.
extremely self-aware. Wow. He seemed extremely self-aware, genuinely,
Yeah.
which was cool to see, honestly.
He's a
because
stud, too.
I've met a lot of actors, and I lived in LA for a time, and I've met many actors, whatever. And I used to study some acting, too. But at the end of the day, he's very clearly pretty self-aware in comparison to some of the other actors that I've met and or studied.
And he's a stud. I will say
Yeah,
that one more time.
for sure.
So we were talking about that movie, and Taryn said, I watched that movie without you. We didn't watch that together. And I said, I assure you we watched the movie together. I'm certain of it. And she said, why would you want to watch that movie? And I said, I can give you 2 reasons. One, Sydney Sweeney is beautiful, and I am okay with watching a movie with her in it. And I said, I have a man crush on the other guy. And when I said I had a man crush on the other guy, we were around some people, and I could tell they didn't really understand what that meant. I could tell. And I've always been, Taryn told me, she said this to me this morning. She's like, I had a dream I was dating the main character from Outlander, which is one of her favorite movies. Anybody listening might have seen. I've never seen it. But it takes place in Scotland. We visited several places where they actually filmed that. Mm-hmm. And the main character is jacked. He's a stud. And I was like, how was that? How was that for you? And she's like, we only ended up going on 2 dates, and then Ace woke me up by accident. And I said, oh, thank you, Ace. I appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for looking out for your dad. But I've always been very, I don't know, I admire that. Yeah. I admire a good-looking human that very clearly works on themselves. I think, good for you. Good for you for being the dude that they chose to play a warrior. Like, good for you for looking that way. But I know not everybody would react that way. Some people would say, "Oh, that person's on steroids, whatever. They're probably an ass because they're in such good shape." Maybe they are. I don't know.
I don't think the Powell guy is. I don't
know.
I mean, I've watched some of his training videos. I don't think he is. He's also small, dude. He's lean, but he's not jacked.
Yeah, but I mean, like, when you see him in board shorts on the beach, it's like, good for you.
Yeah.
You're in the top percentile
he's got it going on, for sure.
of humans.
Yep.
I don't know. I assume...
He's also in the new Top Gun.
Yes. He's on the run. They're the Twisters. Remember Twister?
That's
Twister's
coming out this... Yep.
He's the main character in that.
To be honest. Yeah.
Taryn wants to see it. I don't know if I ever saw the first one.
The first one's awesome. Dude, it's
man,
awesome.
It's about a tornado.
Hey,
you know what I mean?
It's really well done, man.
I
don't know what to tell you.
Flew around and stuff, but it's like, this is about a
quick
tornado.
Side tangent. I got to give you this.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Yeah, please.
All right. Me and my friend Ryan are driving to LA from Boston to LA. I say Boston to LA. It's Uxbridge to LA, but no one knows Uxbridge. So Boston to LA. And I think we're in Kansas or something. I don't know what state we're in. I really don't. I mean, let's be honest. I just followed the GPS. But I said, dude, you ever seen... So we're hearing on the radio, immediately find shelter. And we're seeing. You can tell. This is something's going on here, and this is not good. It got dark really quick. This is not good right here. And I turned to Ryan, and I don't know if he was driving or I was, to be honest with you. I don't remember, but I turned to him, and I say, you ever see that movie Twister? And he's like, no, man. What was it good? I said, we're in it. This is the movie, right? And he and I, we ended up parking under a bridge, and we saw cars parking under bridges. I mean, we were out of sorts. I mean, we're in our early 20s, and we're traveling west, with nothing but what's in our car. So, with big dreams, right? And I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. I'm not gonna lie. It looks a lot like a tornado is about to happen. Like, it looks a lot like the movie. Like in real life. So I think we should seriously, I know, and they said something about anyone on Route 70 who's going west, you need to immediately seek, like, we're not ahead of this thing, basically. So anyways, side tangent, but Twister's a great movie, and I'm excited to see the second one.
Well, I'll see it if Taryn wants to, but I don't. I have no connection, no nostalgic connection.
Did she see the first one?
I'm guessing.
Yeah, if she loves it, dude, watch it with her. It's great.
I'll watch it.
Promise.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
Great.
I'm all
big
in.
fan. Bill Paxton, R.I.P.
Bill Paxton. He was in, what else was he in? He was in a lot of stuff.
Titanic.
He was in Titanic. That was him.
He was yep.
It's a great movie.
NLU listener, what is happening? I just wanted to jump in here and let you know if you want to get to the next level faster, we have a free virtual monthly meetup at the first Thursday of every month, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can connect with like-minded people and become a bigger part of this amazing global community. The link to register will be in the show notes. What were we saying before all of that?
We were talking about my man crushes and how I think for me I admire that. I admire someone who works really, really hard on themselves. But I've always my heroes growing up were the wrestlers who were jacked or the actors who were jacked. That's always been the thing for me. But I know other people, they might villainize. They just don't care. There are some people that see someone that's in really good shape and they just don't care. It just doesn't.
I know.
Cool.
Yeah,
Right?
that's weird for me. But it
Well,
makes
it's because
sense. They
you
just don't
value
value that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would
I've
be the
always
ultimate.
valued that.
Same. I think that would be the ultimate takeaway for this is the way, maybe the ways that you positively care about things are usually connected to the things that you value, or the way you negatively care about things are also connected to the things that you value that you don't know how to get yet or
Yep.
feel stuck in potentially.
Yep.
That would be my kind of takeaway, because you ran away from something that you admired but you didn't know how to get yet, and that inspired you, and then you made that change.
What were the four? So one of them is you admire it.
Admire, villainize, don't care, which I think we said was what, apathetic, and then
Apathy.
avoid.
And avoid. So ask yourself and identify this in yourself. Kev, early on, several years ago, I don't know if it's 2 years ago or 3 years ago now, but we started the Conscious Couples podcast. We're at 105, so whatever that is divided by 52, 2 years, which is interesting because we started doing events 3 years ago. So I think we did events before we had a podcast, which is not normal for us. But anyway, so when we first started the podcast, Kevin said, you two are going to get bad reviews.
I said, you're in trouble. You're in trouble.
Right. And
That's what
I
I
didn't understand what you were saying or why, because in my head it was, at the time it was very, well, we're going to help people and it's going to be a very positive thing. And you were right. I mean, a lot of people were very negative in their feedback. Yeah. And a lot of people were very positive too. So appreciate it. But it was definitely more negative than we expected, for sure. Because I think we were naive to this stuff. Why did you know that? Because we didn't think that at all.
I think stuff that is polarizing is also offensive to certain people. Anybody who is struggling in their relationship is going to see you guys and say, oh, they think they have it all figured out, or you guys aren't even married, or you've only been dating for X amount of time. Like, why do you get to know it all? Like, there's no possibility a relationship is as good as you guys say it is. It seems inconceivable to a degree. I saw a video today of The Rock, kind of good connecting. The Rock did a really cute a post for Father's Day about how his little girls wanted to cook him Father's Day breakfast, so he made, and by him I think it was his chefs, because he gave them a shout out in the verbiage, like, thanks to my I don't remember what it was, like amazing chefs for the help or something. But he kind of like pre-portioned out the ingredients and made it so they could make him breakfast. Super, super cute. And one of the comments was, Rock, you're so wealthy and you have so much plastic in your fridge. Like, you could do a better job of not having so much plastic. Sure, that's probably true. That wasn't the point of the post. This was a super cute, supposed to be inspirational post, but this person was villainizing him.
Yeah.
Because maybe he didn't care about the father, or this person, I don't know who it was.
Yeah,
they didn't care about
the
it.
environment.
They care about the environment.
That's fair. Yeah, and they think The Rock doesn't as much as they do.
Right? Yeah, and that's just a really good example of it. The message doesn't always matter. Sometimes people don't even see the message. They see the messenger, and then they try to pick apart the messenger of, you couldn't possibly be this. I got negative reviews on Podcast Growth U. I was so surprised. I was so surprised. I don't know why. I was like, do you not like me? Do you think I'm BSing? I have no idea why. But it's probably because somebody listened to it and said like, oh, you're lying about this, you're lying about that. I don't know. Or they just didn't like me, and that's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's too bad. It's too bad, but it is inevitable.
100%.
It's 100% inevitable.
Taylor Swift might be the most popular artist on the planet, but she also probably has the most haters. I bet a large amount of money. There's a lot of people that hate Taylor Swift. There's a lot of people that love.
Quarterback in the NFL is Tom Brady, and he's also the most successful quarterback in the NFL, right? So, yeah, I do believe, and it makes sense, right? Just from a numbers perspective, if you reach 1,000 people and 20% of them find something to villainize,
yeah.
I mean, let's just do this. Let's say Kevin and I reach 100,000 people, okay? What percentages are going to be admiring of us? What percentage are going to be villainizing? What percentage are going to be... What are the other ones?
Apathetic or avoid.
Yeah. Or avoid. Okay, apathetic is probably a big percentage. I mean, who cares about self-improvement, right?
That's a large number.
A large percentage just don't care about anything we have to say, which is fair. Okay. And then a percentage admire. And if you listen to the show, you're in the percentage that admires. We appreciate that. Thank you. And then what percentage villainize? I mean, you got to figure at least 10%, right?
It's probably a relatively small percent, but it's a relatively loud percent.
Yeah, that's fair. And then what was the fourth one? I'm so sorry.
Avoid.
Avoid. Okay. And then avoid, I mean, that's a large percentage for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we've hosted live events and stuff, and I do get it intellectually. Like, why would I, if I'm insecure around Matt, the Matt from the story at the beginning, why would I go out of my way to be around him if it makes me feel bad about myself?
100%.
Matt didn't make me feel bad about myself. He was very kind. And I need to make that as clear as possible. He didn't do anything wrong. He just had the restaurant that his parents run. He had the Cape House. He had the gorgeous blonde girlfriend. He was jacked and in shape and tall and good looking and charismatic and funny. And he was also in school and doing well in school. He was just a well put together, holistically successful man. And he was popular and all that, right? So he didn't do anything wrong. But if I feel insecure around him and I don't believe in myself, you better believe I might avoid.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past, that never made sense because truth be told, I always went into the admire and aspire almost too much. It makes sense, Kev. Have you ever met anyone who has lost more heroes than me?
No.
I have had, my whole life, I've had so many heroes. I looked up to so many people, and I still do, but not nearly to the extent that I used to. When I was a kid, I looked up to so many people. I needed inspiration. I needed motivation. The Rock was one of my heroes. I remember one of my first girlfriends, we watched Walking Tall together, and she's like, oh, he's so hot. And I remember being like, oh, God. Because back then I wasn't in shape, right? I was this ectomorphic, skinny dude. And I remember thinking, like, of course you think he's hot. Of course. This dude is bigger than a horse, right? And that's all it ever is. And what did I do? I bet you I reacted in a way that made me better in some capacity. I probably aimed higher. And this is what I say. My trauma response is this is my trauma response. Anytime I've had pain in my life or failure, it's aim higher, work harder, get smarter. Aim higher, work harder, get smarter. Kevin and I have taken some massive L's together.
For sure.
And what do? Aim higher, work harder, get smarter. I just don't know if there's a better trauma response. But if you don't believe in yourself, I do understand. Just know this. I have a client who is statistically one of the most beautiful humans I've ever seen. She feels very lonely because when she walks in a room, either the guys are trying not to check her out, and the girls usually avoid her. And some of that is because she's maybe not as warm and loving and welcoming. Maybe she's socially awkward. Like, I think that's fair. But more of it than anything is the guys don't want to be caught looking, and the women don't want to be standing next to her. And that is just true. It's true. And that, just understand that this person, and again, this is just one person, but this happens to all the Matts and these types of people. Like, this happens to anyone who is of significance. And I've been on both ends of that. I've been the most insignificant ever, and then I've been the guy. And I'm telling you, it's not what you think. And it's fascinating because you feel unlovable. You feel avoided. You feel hated. You feel unlikable. When in reality, it has nothing to do with you.
No.
I'm the best version of myself that I've ever been in 35 years, and I've never felt less likable than I do now. It's like, what is that about, right? And then my trauma response to that is go get better, go work harder, go get smarter. That's not exactly helping.
The people who are judging you the most are the ones who are changing the least, unfortunately. So there's nothing, there's quite literally, I won't say there's nothing you can't do, but there's not a lot you can do.
Yeah, you have to opt out of that game for sure. And you have to
play for the ones that, you play for the people that might admire.
Yep.
And then they can help other people, and it becomes this cycle.
And intellectually we get that, but emotionally it's hard to. Yeah.
Understandable.
And I think you're going to have a hell of a time in the next decade. I really do. I feel like you're going to have a seriously hard time. I could be wrong, but you're getting more, people expect more of you.
Yeah.
And then you're going to let more people down. I mean, because you're just human, right?
Yep.
Even though you're better than you've ever been, it's going to be weird. And then I'm just hoping you handle all this better than I did because
Therapy.
Like
I said,
sure.
I'm finding a therapist, and I think that'll be very helpful. Very helpful, because I'm realizing how many things are coming from that core fear of disappointment.
Very last piece, I think that everyone's going to have higher expectations of you. I think people are going to admire you and therefore have higher expectations of you. You're going to let way more people down because you're reaching more people, and you're going to be villainized way more. I have a feeling you'll be villainized way more than what you've ever been in the past.
Sounds wonderful. All of that sounds incredible.
It honestly is awful.
Yeah, it sounds it.
It's the worst, and it's the hardest part of this journey, in my opinion. That will always be the hardest part, I think, is just the lash-outs that feel so unwarranted. When you're literally waking up every day trying to be the very best version of yourself and trying to help as many people as you can. That has been wild, but it's the way it works.
You know, the thing that frustrates me the most is I won't say anything back. I was talking to you about that recently. It's like, I don't know. There's a piece of me that wants to say something back, but there's a piece of me that also thinks that's like super, I don't know what the word is.
As long as you hold on to your self-respect and you're not saying something out of a lack of courage, that's what I've found is I used to think I was taking the high road when in reality some of that was just being a coward.
That might be what it is. I don't know. I'm working through that, trying to figure that out. Because I feel like if I'm going to be a positive person, the last thing I want to do is be negative to somebody else, even if they're negative to me. But you better believe if I was out and somebody pushed Taryn, I would kick them in their throat.
Well, here's the thing, right? You value Taryn to a level 12 out of 10. Do you value yourself enough to defend yourself too? Because you would do that for me or for Taryn, but would you do that for yourself? I think that's the metaphorical question. Because same, like, if people were to disrespect Emilia, I'd be there in a heartbeat. But when people disrespect me all the time, am I just sitting down and taking it and fawning or avoiding out of... So there's a big difference between taking the high road and being a coward. But let's go in the parking lot is not the answer, right? Necessarily, right? Because then you have a lot to lose now, too.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. You've got a lot to lose. You've got a reputation. You've got a brand. You've got success. So there's way more to lose. So people have leverage on you now. These people that are hating on you, Kev, they don't have much to lose.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so that's been the hardest thing for me. Maybe we do an episode at some point about this, but the people who are lashing out at me, they have much less to lose than I do. Some random guy gets upset with me in the gym and wants to throw hands. I have way more to lose than this person in terms of reputation, brand, self-worth, self-belief. Yeah. I'm going to get stuck in shame for beating up some high school kid. And on top of that, what if there's a weapon involved, right? So there's just so much to lose. And so when you have so much, when you're successful, holistically, you have so much to lose. The stakes are higher. It's this weird thing. I mean, one person, I do have empathy. Like for some people that are rich and famous, I know that they make it seem like it's so hard, and I'm sure it's not as hard as, the other end of the things. But at the end of the day, everything they say needs to be
Yeah.
very buttoned up and very polite. Like they can't have an imperfect moment without it being plastered all over the internet. So you and I are going to go through that, whether we like it or not. And I'm ready, I think. I put it this way, I'm more ready than I've ever been. And I do feel like lately it's been fascinating to study you in this new era, this new chapter.
Well, that's the internal stuff. Like we did an episode recently, when you get external results, then you have internal stuff that comes up, and then rinse and repeat that forever. And I think that's the season I'm in. But I am open. I am open to experiencing that season and doing the work necessary to work on through it, as I have tried to do since the very beginning. And we'll see what happens.
I wonder if your fear of failure will transform into fear of success.
It's very possible.
That'll be fascinating.
It's very possible. We'll figure it out. Just as we have for the last 7 years.
It'll be different and the same.
Yeah, right. All right, we're going to go because I know we're running long on this episode. What are we saying here? Next Level Nation, private Facebook group for you to grow with other like-minded humans where nobody's going to make fun of you or crap on your dreams. And if you would leave us a review and or subscribe on whatever platform you are listening or watching on, that would help us help more people. So if you admire, even if you don't care, that would help other people who do care maybe a little bit more find a positive podcast called Next Level You.
Kev?
Yes.
Real quick.
Yeah.
I have a brand new blog that I just launched.
Okay.
Number 18.
Okay.
How to build a magnificent career you adore. Okay. How to build a magnificent career you adore. It's a Venn diagram, 3 circles. The first part is what fulfills you. The second part is what you're good at, statistically speaking. And the third part is what makes good money. If you can find the epicenter of those 3 for you personally, you will have a magnificent career that you adore that's actually profitable. And unfortunately, most of us start with what makes good money and then end up unfulfilled versus starting with what fulfills you and what you're good at and then finding a way to make money. And so the link will be in the show notes. It's one of the best that I've ever written, and I worked extremely hard on it to make it as valuable as humanly possible. And so far, it's got some good love. So I do believe it will help.
Go check it out. Link will be in the show notes. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep aspiring and admiring. Next Level Nation.